Have you ever felt like no matter how much effort you put into a relationship, being kind, respectful, supportive, even giving her space when she needs it, you still end up feeling overlooked, frustrated, or wondering why things just don't work out? You've probably heard all the common advice. Be a good listener. Be yourself. Always put her first. But what if I told you that following this advice blindly could be the very reason your relationships keep falling apart? What if the key to truly understanding attraction has nothing to do with being nice and everything to do with understanding what's happening beneath the surface? The emotional triggers, hidden desires, and subtle weaknesses every woman has but rarely talks about. Today, we're uncovering the 10 biggest weaknesses every woman has, not to exploit them, but to help you build deeper, more meaningful connections based on awareness, confidence, and emotional intelligence. When you understand these hidden dynamics, you'll stop chasing validation and start building attraction that feels effortless and real. Let's break down these 10 truths and show you how mastering them can change your relationships forever. Number 1. Emotional instability. It's no secret. Many women navigate the world with a far greater willingness to openly express their emotions than men. There's a raw beauty in this vulnerability, but also a danger. Unchecked emotion quickly transforms into chaos. Picture the emotional pendulum swinging wildly, from euphoric highs that make you feel like a king, to sudden storms of insecurity, frustration, or suspicion that leave you scrambling for solid ground. One moment you're her rock, the next, you're the villain in her story. But what happens when you make her emotions your compass? When her validation becomes your fuel, her approval your anchor, you forfeit your own center of gravity. To a Stoic man, this isn't a flaw to ridicule or resent, but a pattern to study, a lesson in human nature. Her storm doesn't need to become your storm. Yet so many men, untrained in the art of inner stillness, get swept up in the tide. They react, defend, explain, apologize, each word surrendering control. Their emotions mirror hers until they're no longer men standing firm, but marionettes dancing on invisible strings. Can you really call yourself strong if your peace is at the mercy of someone else's mood? True power, the kind Marcus Aurelius spoke of, lies not in overpowering her, nor in shutting her down, but in remaining grounded within yourself. Imagine standing on a rocky cliff, wind howling, waves crashing at your feet, and yet you are still, calm, unshaken. You see the storm for what it is, temporary, external, beyond your control. The only thing that matters is how you meet it. As Marcus said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Number 2, validation addiction. Every human being, at some point, longs to be seen, to have their existence acknowledged, their value affirmed. It's natural. But in today's hyper-connected world, where a single swipe can conjure attention and a carefully filtered photo can spark a flood of praise, this craving has mutated into a relentless hunger. For some women, validation isn't just a desire. It's an addiction, a constant drip feed of likes, comments, fire emojis, and digital applause that barely fills the void before the craving returns. Every post, every selfie, every update becomes a silent plea. Do you see me? Do you want me? Am I enough? The Stoic man sees the machinery behind this spectacle, the trap hidden beneath the glitter. He understands that if he becomes her primary source of validation, he's no longer a man in her eyes. He's a dispenser of worth, a fragile lifeline between her and her deepest insecurities. The moment his sense of self hinges on her approval, he becomes her possession, not her partner. But the Stoic man refuses to play that role. He stands rooted in his own unshakable sense of worth, a confidence forged not by fleeting attention, but by the unyielding bedrock of his character. Why chase admiration when self-respect already lives within? Number 3, fear of solitude. A woman who cannot sit alone with her own thoughts is not merely uncomfortable, she is at war with herself. Silence, to her, is not peaceful, it is deafening, a mirror reflecting all the truths she's tried to outrun. Every quiet moment becomes a battlefield where her fears, regrets, and insecurities march forward, demanding to be seen. And when you entwine your life with someone who fears being alone, you do not become her partner. You become her lifeline, her constant distraction from the silence she dreads. Seneca warned us, "He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a living man." Substitute death with solitude, and the warning sharpens. A man who allows himself to be her shield from silence, her living buffer between herself and the stillness, does not save her. He only delays her reckoning. And one day, when the weight of her own unrest can no longer be blamed on the silence, she will turn her gaze to you. You, her anchor, will become her scapegoat for every flicker of discontent, every unmet expectation, every piece of her inner world left unexplored. The Stoic man does not run from solitude. He walks into it willingly, like a sailor greeting the sea. He discovers strength in stillness, clarity in quiet, and peace in his own unfiltered company. To fear silence is to fear the self. To master silence is to master life. Number 4, romantic idealism. Movies flood our screens with scenes of candlelit dinners on private rooftops, grand declarations of love in the rain, and spontaneous trips to Paris to rekindle fading sparks. Novels whisper promises of soulmates who read your mind, heal your wounds, and complete you with effortless perfection. Influencers parade curated relationships, every moment airbrushed into cinematic bliss. But what about reality? Reality is unfiltered, a silent morning with unkempt hair and bad breath, mundane conversations about groceries, bills, and whose turn it is to take out the trash. Love in the real world isn't a symphony, it's a quiet hum, a rhythm found in the ordinary. Women raised on these fantasies, conditioned to expect fireworks in every kiss, often enter relationships chasing the high of cinematic romance. And who's expected to deliver this fantasy? The man, his worth measured not by his loyalty or strength, but by how well he can mimic the script of a romantic lead. A Stoic man sees through the illusion. His value isn't proven through stage performances, but through unwavering consistency, the quiet reliability of showing up day after day, even when no music plays. When he refuses to cater to scripted delusions, reality has no choice but to step back in. The weak man dances for her approval, desperate to keep her enchanted. The Stoic man, he stands firm, unmoved by whether she is captivated or disillusioned, for his worth is his own, not something borrowed from her fleeting gaze. Number 5, emotional manipulation, conscious or not. Not all manipulation wears a villain's mask. Sometimes it's subtle, almost invisible, woven into the fabric of everyday interactions. A sudden flood of tears, not always deliberate, can shift blame like a rising tide washing away footprints. Silence, stretched thin over hours or days, transforms into a cold blade, slicing through the air to punish without a word. Affection, once freely given, is dangled just out of reach like a key to a locked door. Is it always malicious? Not necessarily. Often, it's instinct, a primal survival reflex buried deep in human nature. But intention doesn't matter when the effect is the same: control, because men, conditioned to fix, to protect, to appease, almost always react. But a Stoic man, he doesn't play the part they've written for him. He steps back, sees the invisible strings, and lets them fall limp. No sudden smile, no fleeting touch, no calculated silence can pull him from his center. His worth isn't measured in approval or affection doled out like scraps to the obedient. No withdrawal leaves him trembling. No reward makes him dance. As Epictetus warned, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. A Stoic man seeks not applause, but command over himself, his mind, his emotions, his fate. Number 6, herd mentality. Whether it's chasing fleeting fashion trends, shaping opinions to mirror her friends, or anxiously avoiding the cold sting of exclusion, many women, often without realizing it, are swept into the powerful current of groupthink. It's not always conscious, yet the desire to belong can be an irresistible undercurrent, tugging at her sense of self until it dissolves into the collective voice around her. This isn't a modern phenomenon. The ancient Stoics, keen observers of human nature, saw the same pattern unraveling in the marketplaces of Athens and the streets of Rome. People feared the silence that came with standing alone, so they clung to the noise of the crowd, wearing borrowed beliefs like armor against rejection. But what is the cost of such comfort? For the Stoic man, this understanding is a quiet advantage. He sees her opinions shift like leaves caught in the changing wind, not out of deep reflection, but from an instinctive need to harmonize with the tribe. He recognizes the flickers of uncertainty behind her confident words, the subtle pauses when her mind wonders, what will they think? But he does not waver. While she drifts, he stands, rooted in values forged from inner clarity, not external applause. When the crowd roars, he listens only to reason. When trends seduce, he remains unmoved. For him, the compass is internal, immune to the magnetic pull of popularity, and that unshakable foundation is precisely why the storm never sways him. Number 7, insecurity in aging. Time is a relentless tide, washing away the smoothness of youth and replacing it with the etchings of experience. In a world obsessed with fleeting beauty, where airbrushed perfection stares back from every screen and billboard, aging for many women becomes a quiet, gnawing fear, one rarely voiced, but always felt. It lingers in the mirror's reflection, in the subtle shift of attention in a crowded room, in the way society often equates value with appearance. How does one compete with the ever-turning clock, when even the most vibrant blooms eventually wither? This fear doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers, through hesitant glances, self-deprecating jokes, or the sudden reluctance to stand fully in the light. The Stoic man does not dismiss these fears as vanity, nor offer hollow reassurances that feel as fragile as glass. Instead, he stands firmly rooted, unshaken by the passage of time, accepting every line, every change, as part of life's natural unfolding. His presence becomes an anchor, a steady reminder that her worth is not tied to her reflection, but to the depth of her being. He does not battle time. He moves with it, a living testament to the power of embracing impermanence with grace, wisdom, and unwavering respect. Number 8, attraction to power, not just love. This is an uncomfortable truth most men would rather deny, yet it lingers beneath the surface of every romantic interaction. Many women are drawn not merely to charm, humor, or even kindness, but to power, raw, undeniable power. Not the kind flaunted by celebrities dripping in wealth or politicians clinging to influence, but a deeper, more primal force. Power that radiates from a man who knows exactly who he is. Why does power captivate? Because strength signals protection, survival, and dominance in an uncertain world. Even in modern society, where comfort abounds, attraction is still wired to ancient instincts. A man who bends too easily, who seeks validation like a beggar clutching for scraps, repels far more than he attracts. Weak men curse this reality, resenting women for being wired this way. But the Stoic man? He embraces it. To him, power is not money, titles, or fleeting status symbols. True power is the fortress within, the man who governs his emotions when chaos stirs, who commands his desires rather than obeying them, who stands calm when insulted and unmoved when praised. A man who owns himself, fully and unapologetically, exudes a silent authority no wealth can purchase. Even in a crowded room, you feel it, a presence that makes you look twice, a gravity that pulls attention without asking. That is Stoic power, invisible yet undeniable. Number 9, the desire to fix or change a man. It's a tale as old as time. A woman meets a man, not for who he is, but for the man she believes he could become. His flaws, his rough edges, his immaturity, all seen not as obstacles, but as opportunities. Projects to be managed, problems to be solved. She falls not for the man standing before her, but for the fantasy she constructs in her mind, a polished version of him, molded by her guidance, shaped by her love. But what happens when reality refuses to yield? When the man resists her chisel and hammer, standing firm in his own imperfection? Disillusionment sets in. Frustration follows. She wonders why he won't change, but was it ever her place to decide? The Stoic man understands this dynamic well. He feels the subtle pressure, the gentle nudges, the veiled suggestions that slowly evolve into outright demands. Yet, he does not bend, not out of stubbornness, but out of self-respect. A man's transformation belongs to him alone, a sacred internal journey dictated by his own reason and principles, never by someone else's projections. As Epictetus declared, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. How can any man become himself if his reflection is distorted by someone else's expectations? The Stoic man chooses authenticity over appeasement, even if it means losing love in the process. Number 10, short-term emotional thinking. In moments of tension, too many women, and to be fair, many men as well, become prisoners of the present. The sting of a harsh word, the weight of an unresolved argument, or the discomfort of silence consumes the entire horizon, as if nothing exists beyond the storm of now. They react, they lash out, they withdraw, not because they are weak, but because they've been conditioned to believe that emotions must be obeyed the instant they appear. But what if they didn't? What if, instead of surrendering to the fleeting turbulence of a single hour, they paused and asked themselves, will this matter in a day, a month, a year? This is where the Stoic man separates himself. While others spiral into emotional chaos, he remains anchored, not cold, but composed. He sees the passing storm for what it is, weather, not climate. His mind stretches beyond the argument echoing in the room, past the trembling voice or wounded look, and locks onto the far horizon. The life he's building, the principles he's chosen, the character he's forging. Why fight every wave when you can learn to navigate the sea? That's why, when lesser men crumble under the weight of their feelings, the Stoic man stands unmoved, not heartless, but steady. His power lies in perspective, a rare gift in a world addicted to immediacy. Conclusion: the point is not, and has never been, to criticize women. It's to illuminate the raw, often uncomfortable reality of human nature itself, including yours. How often do you find yourself blaming others for your own instability? Every emotional whirlwind, every silent test, every unspoken expectation, these are not enemies to defeat, but mirrors reflecting the fractures within your own mind. It's not her mood swings or subtle manipulations that make you vulnerable. It's your own unexamined impulses, your blind reactions, your desperate need for external validation that leaves you exposed. The Stoic man doesn't waste his life trying to control the actions of women or anyone else. He knows the only fortress worth guarding is the one within his own mind. He stands unshaken because his sense of worth, his peace, his purpose are built on foundations no one can access but him. Who can manipulate a man who requires nothing from them? Who can control a man who has already conquered himself? This is the unbreakable power of Stoic mastery. This is Quotes and Relax 95. Subscribe for deeper Stoic insights to master your mind, your emotions, and your life. Until next time, stay calm, stay sharp, and most of all, stay Stoic.